88.3 FM, The Wizard, Chicago's home for freeform since 1974. And I have on the line the great multi-instrumentalist Karl Denson. How's it going, Karl?
Very good. How you doing?
Doing well. Thank you for coming on the show this evening on this nice Monday holiday season.
My pleasure.
Happy to have you, and we're so excited to have you at Garcia's 2 nights coming up here in Chicago.
Yeah, that's going to be really fun.
It is. It really is. I'm guessing you've probably played some of Pete Shapiro's venues before, maybe the Cap Theater or Brooklyn Bowl.
Yes, I've known Pete for a long time.
He's a good guy, yeah?
Yeah, he's a great guy. One of
You
my
know,
favorites.
that's awesome. When we first opened that venue here, he was out in the crowd. He had his phone taking video, like part of the crowd, as well as, the guy who made it all happen. So I feel like that's a good sign.
Well, he's definitely he's a fan first, for
Yeah.
sure.
That's the vibe I get for sure. He's a fan first. He wants people to have a good time, make sure people are dancing and getting up and grooving. So
Yeah, he gets really excited when, one of his shows is um the when he gets the right mixture of people and musicians, you can definitely see him light up.
that's a great thing. Yeah, and I think his wife is from, or at least, yeah, I think she's from Evanston, from Chicago area. So he gets up here enough, and it was supposed to be a Brooklyn Bowl maybe, and we ended up with Garcia's, which it's really snazzy. It's really cool. You're gonna like it, I think.
Yeah, you know what? I think there's a move towards the kind of more jazz aesthetic coming back, which I think is great. You got a lot of
Absolutely.
younger musicians now that are kind of coming out of music school, so they have a lot of jazz background and then where music is going is kind of jazzier and getting to be a little more cocktail sometimes.
Absolutely. So when you started out playing music, was it jazz that first kind of got you into where you were at, or when did jazz come into your life?
Yeah, that I mean, I was not really playing jazz, but that's what I was listening to. I was playing funk and soul as a kid
Yeah.
with my early bands.
Yeah, that's great. When was the first time you had a sax in your hands?
At 13.
13. That's a good
Yeah,
age. That's a good age
seventh
to
grade.
start playing. Seventh
Seventh grade.
grade.
I wanted to start I wanted to start when I was in fourth grade, but for some reason, I don't know. I would love to be a fly on the wall and figure out how they talked me into it, but somehow they talked me out of saxophone and into playing cello.
I'm surprised. Wow.
Yeah. And cello was just not a cool instrument at that age. Now I love it, but then it didn't make sense.
No, I could imagine that. Just like, it's heavy too. How could you carry that around?
Yeah, yeah. It was not fun to carry home.
Yeah. Everybody's like, what do you got? You're like, don't worry about it. It's cool. It's gonna be
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, exactly. You'll catch up.
Can you play it now, or have you played a lot around with it at all?
The cello, you know what I did in college? I picked it up for a half a second, but it was going to take a lot of work. So I passed on it.
Yeah, that was a good idea because you are very proficient and great at these wonderful instruments that you blow into, like the flute and the sax.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm a
so when did you?
long-winded, I'm a long-winded blowhard.
Yeah, I kept when I was on Spotify playing your tunes, this song "Blowjob" kept coming up, and I'm like, "Whoa, what the heck is this about?" And I'm like, "Well, I think he blows into an instrument."
Wow.
I know.
That's
I mean, it's with you and somebody else, right? Or maybe it's a different Carl Denson.
I don't have a song called Blowjob.
I was wondering about it. I'm gonna send this to you afterwards and be like, Carl, it says your name on it.
I
It's
don't, I
just,
don't know where this came from, but
I'm telling you,
yeah.
when you put in your name, that comes up a couple of times, and I'm like,
Well, I
hmm,
guess
I'm
somebody
asking.
found I guess somebody found out, huh?
They found out. They found
Yeah.
out real good. always good to, break the ice right away. I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
it's by Ferry Ultra and Karl Denson. I don't know who this Karl Denson is, but it's not. It's
Barry Ultra and Carl Denson.
Yep.
Oh, I got to look that up because I do know a guy named Ferry
Okay.
that I worked with back in like this would be 93, maybe 94 when I was in he lives in Germany.
Okay.
He's a PA in Germany, and I'm gonna look that up as soon as I get off.
Please do. Yeah, it says Ferry Ultra and the Homeless Funkers. So I know you have a home because you're somewhere right
That's
now.
awesome. I'll
Yeah.
have to reach out to him and find out if he's putting out songs with ribald titles.
I was like, wow, I didn't think about Carl that way, but he blows into an instrument, so we'll call it that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love it. So when did you decide to be a flautist? Was that always a thing or?
Yes, pretty much from the beginning. You know what? I fell in love with all these early jazz guys, or like Yusef Lateef, David Fathead Newman, who used to play with Ray Charles, and Rahsaan Roland Kirk were kind of my mentors, and they all played saxophone and flute. So it was always like kind of a thing that you do.
Yeah, it was kind of like you might as well do both. And I think
Yeah.
you do a great job at it. I've seen you a bunch of different times. One of my favorite recently has been when you've been covering David Bowie. That's been a really fun time.
Oh, that's a fun. But Bernard Fowler, you saw me with
Yes,
Bernard. Yeah, isn't he
Bernard.
great?
He's awesome. So he's from the Stones as well. Where does Bernard come
Yeah,
from?
he's been with the Stones for 35, almost 40 years. Yeah.
Wow. Did you know him before you joined up with the Stones?
No,
That's so cool.
no, I might have met him once or twice, but I didn't really know him. And so yeah, he's like he's younger than me, but he's like my big brother. He's he's one of those guys. He's super cool. And we're getting ready to do for this summer. I got a new record that's just about done. And but in the meantime, for Jazz Fest, we decided we're going to do a Jimmy Cliff um celebration, and
Nice.
and Bernard's going to join me for that. So we'll probably try to tool around and get that to Chicago too over the summer.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we just lost Jimmy, rest in peace. So let's
Right.
celebrate him.
Yeah.
And you guys together doing covers like that and doing kind of like a tribute to somebody, it was really impressive. I saw at first the David Bowie thing at Jazz Fest,
Uh-huh.
one of your late nights, and then you brought it to Chicago. I think at Park West we saw you do it again,
Right.
and that's really cool. I'm glad you're teaming up with him again. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, everybody, you're tuned in to WZRD Chicago. We're talking to Karl Denson, who's coming to Chicago 2 nights. That's the 30th and the
Hi.
31st. Hey. And Carl's been at it a long time. Carl's been doing it and doing it right. You started with, I don't know if you started with, but I know you were with Lenny Kravitz for a long time and played with him.
Right.
And then was it from there that you decided, I want to do my own thing and kind of start my own band?
Yeah. Well, I always wanted to do my own thing. And Lenny, like, being a jazz guy um, at heart, there was a moment where I realized that I probably was going to have to do, some kind of a pop gig here and there to support my jazz habit. And and then Lenny he kind of popped out of the blue. It was just through a friend I met him. We did some recording together, and it just kind of worked. And so I ended up becoming the first member of his band, and I worked with him for about 4 years. And then while I was working with him, I kind of got my career on its feet, and so then I took a break, and I jumped back in with him every 15 or 20 years.
That's awesome. He's got such a great presence and such a cool vibe. I'm glad Lenny's still going, and I'm glad that you got to be a part of that.
Yeah, he's very cool. I got to play this past summer. It was great. I The Stones canceled last summer, so I was sitting around, and lo and behold, Lenny's sax player, Harold Todd, who's a great sax player, friend of mine, calls me and said, "Hey, I got to get back surgery. Can you cover me on a couple of Lenny gigs?" So I went and did a couple of Lenny shows this past June. It was really great to reconnect.
That's awesome. That's really nice to have that kind of, for Harold to be able to ask you and for you to just be able to fit right in, right back where you, had started with stuff, some of this stuff.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And you happen to be off with the Stones. Yeah, and everybody who's listening, Karl Denson is in the Greyboy Allstars, Karl Denson's Tiny Universe, who's playing Garcia's. But you've also gotten picked up by the Stones, which I think is just incredible. How did that come about? Was that arranged by anybody we know, or
That was directly through Lenny.
wow?
Yeah. Yeah, Lenny and Mick are good friends, and they were having dinner one night, and Mick mentioned that Bobby was sick, Bobby Keys, late Bobby Keys, and that they were going to have to get some help. And so Lenny threw my hat in the ring, and the rest is history.
Pays to know people. It's so nice to have people recommend you, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was like one of the most amazing little occurrences, of my life where I get a call from Lenny, who, we talk, infrequently, but every at least every couple of years we'll have a couple of phone calls, and so it's just out of the blue that I get a call from Lenny, and I'm thinking he's looking for something for me. He was talking about, somebody needs somebody to tour with him, and I thought I don't really need a gig, but and then he he told me it was the Stones, and I was like, okay, there was
You're
a
like, I'm
reason
kind of
for the Stones.
busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm kind of busy, Lenny, but what do you got? It's like, well,
Yeah,
you might want to sit down.
you're right.
That's cool. So were you a fan prior to? I mean, I know we all love the Stones, but was it something that you liked, or did you have to learn all those tunes?
I was pretty familiar with Bobby Keys. I was a Bobby Keys fan for a long time. So when I was younger playing clubs, it was the funniest thing because I was a jazz guy, so I wasn't really like a you know rock and roll kid. I was a jazz and funk kid, and but inevitably playing these clubs, some drunk guy would walk up to me and go, "Hey man, play some Bobby Keys."
Oh my God. Okay,
and
buddy.
and after three or four of those, I was like, I wonder who is Bobby Keys. So I went and I kind of did some research and found out that it was the guy with the Stones. So at that point, I half knew what I was hearing already, but I did develop a deep respect for his playing and studied it a bit. So I was in pretty good shape when I got the call to take over.
See, look at that. That's crazy. That was like a seed planted long time ago. Like you better know
Exactly.
some Bobby Keys, right?
Exactly. And unfortunately, I never got to meet him. That was the worst part of the whole thing.
Oh
Because I
man.
because I heard he was such a character. He was like legendary.
I bet. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It says he played with Skinner and Harry Nilsson and Clapton and Joe Cocker. I didn't realize he played with so many different people that he's appeared
Yeah.
on their albums. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, he was that guy.
Well, I feel like you're filling his shoes quite well. And I'm sure it's a little different than being on like, this club scene and circuit that you guys play with Grey Boy and with Karl Denson. What's it like to be in these huge stadiums with these, legendary rockers?
It's a gig's kind of a gig, but being on stage with those guys is just like it's not even about the gig. It's just you're on stage with Mick Jagger and Keith Richards and Ron Woods and Charlie Watts, like that was just surreal every single time it happens. You're just hanging out with those guys and that was really the thrill of it. It's just being on stage with those guys.
Yeah. It's got to be just kind of maybe almost just too surreal where you're like, is this real? I guess so. Let me just keep playing.
Yeah, I try to never let it get lost on me for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good thing. So tell us about Carl Denson's Tiny Universe. When did that originate and how long has it been a thing?
I started this band in 98.
Wow.
So we've been around a while now. And yeah, we're having a great time. I just kind of refurbished my band after COVID. Um, my drummer got a teaching gig, my piano player got a TV gig, and my trumpet player decided he didn't want to tour as much. And so it just kind of ended up refitting the band, and now I've got a nice young band, and it's really fun. We're having a great time.
I love that. I love that. We caught you at a Ravinia this year at the carousel stage outside. Is that
Oh
the
yeah,
same kind of band? Same people?
yes, that band.
Really high
Exactly.
energy, really fun, really, really fun.
Yeah.
I love it. So you mentioned a new record, and did I hear? I think I heard it in a different interview. Maybe an Afrobeat record is coming.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be called No Accent, and it is just about done. I'm just reaching out. Just before I called you, I was reaching out to the horn arrangers, and that's going to be the last couple of things I have to do. And then Tank and from Tank and the Bangas.
Oh yeah,
Tank's going to sing a song. So I just reached out to her, and she just got back with me. So yeah, we're rounding the corner, and we'll probably drop it probably mid late summer.
mid late summer, and this is under Carl Denson and the Tiny Universe.
Yes.
Sweet, that's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's really fun to have a new record from you, and then also for it to be an Afrobeat record. You talked about a single too with Frank Moody. Is that on that?
No, that's going to be separate.
Ooh,
Yeah,
cool.
we've got that done. That's getting mastered right now. So we'll figure out when to put that out. But we got a lot of little things going on. I have another couple of singles that I've had Sput from Ghost Note, Snarky
Oh yeah,
Puppy. I
yeah.
had him help me produce those. I've got two more singles. So we got a lot of I got a lot of releases coming, and finally I'm gonna get my release schedule together, and not be so every 4 years.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to do, but that's really cool that you're doing different things. And I think having singles are nice too because it keeps people excited and ready for more.
Yes, and I'm just taking the opportunity to do things in a different way, and like the Frank Moody track is very different from the Tiny Universe normal thing, but um, I just wanted to see how other people work in the studio. So I was on Jam Cruise with them a couple of years ago, and just before Jam Cruise, I started thinking about having other producers, and so when I realized they were on the boat, I searched them out and asked them if they do a track for me, and they were into it. So it came out really good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I've been wanting to go on Jam Cruise forever. Are you still like undefeated on Jam Cruises or do you still go a lot?
Yeah, I've been on every single one. We're on 22 now.
Oh my goodness. Every single one. That's like
Yeah,
huge. That's huge,
yeah.
Carl.
Me and Galactic.
Have been there the most.
We've been there. We've been on all of them.
Wow. Yeah, not the most, all of them.
Yes, exactly.
What is it like? Tell people because I know people have asked me about it and I've never personally been, but what is a jam cruise?
You know what? It's really pretty unique, I think, in that the bands are kind of the bands that you hear, us, Dumpster Funk, um Galactic, Krungbin's been on there, um Trombone Shorty, like you get a nice mixture of things. But the coolest thing is that there's always a couple of jam rooms going on, so people collaborate in the middle of the night, and I think that's what makes it really fun is you go to the jam room after hours, and there's just a bunch of people from Lettuce or wherever, and they're just in there jamming. And then last year, I have to say the main comment I got from people was they were really taken by how well everybody takes care of each other. It's a really it's a nice party atmosphere, but very safe and very what do you call it? Caring and nurturing, you know.
Yeah,
People are watching out for each other.
that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that feeling has come through like in the scene with the jam scene and stuff. You realize that people will pick you up if you fall down or if you need something, you need some water. People are like intuitive enough that they take care of each other and that's really cool to hear that that's happening on the boat.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I got to get out there. I got to get in there. And that jam room sounds a lot like what like late night jazz fest is like, these collaborations you wouldn't find anywhere else, right?
Yes, exactly.
Sweet. I love it. I love it. So what can we expect on these wonderful days next week? We've got the 30th and 31st. So that'll be next Tuesday and Wednesday already for the turn of 25 to 26. How are we going to bring it in?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna mix it up a lot because I'm doing Alfred, my drummer, my normal drummer is having a baby soon. So
Hmm.
staying home for this one. And I've got I'm doing a little alumni thing. Chris Stillwell and John Staten, Tiny Universe alumni are coming in for the first few shows of this run, and then Chris will go home, and Parker's going to join us for Chicago. But I'm still going to have John. So in the process, I've been able to add a bunch of old tunes that my band didn't know before, my new band didn't know, and
Sweet.
so it's going to be a fun mixture of new and old.
I love that. I love that. Actually, one of your biggest fans, my brother, he's like, can you ask him to play Mighty Rebel? I'm like, I don't know if he still plays it, but we'll ask him.
Oh, yeah, we haven't played that one for a while. I'll
Long time.
I'll have to look into that one. That would be
Yeah.
fun.
That would be fun. Yeah, it's kind of apt to what's going on these days.
Right.
And it's catchy. I played it for the kids I babysit. They're like 3 and 4, and they're like, "Is he the Mighty Rebel?" I'm like, "Yeah, he is. He's the Mighty Rebel. We're all Mighty Rebels if we work at it, right?"
Yes, exactly. That's how it's
That's what
supposed
it's
to be.
about. Yeah. So you're playing Garcia's, which is obviously a Jerry Garcia themed venue, and I know that that
You
wasn't
won't believe how long it took me to figure that out.
did really. I love that.
It's, it's so funny, just not being like you know, dyed in the wool Grateful Dead head all the time. I finally I was thinking about it's probably like a month ago where I was like, oh, it's
That's what it's
Garcia's.
about. I love that. It's like you don't realize it until until you get there. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but it being a Grateful Dead themed venue, and I know you've played Grateful Dead before with Phil Lesh. Some of my favorite shows with you were Brooklyn Bowl, where you played with Phil, and in Vegas. That was a lot of fun. But you weren't always a Deadhead. You kind of fell into that. Tell us about how that happened.
Well, being a part of this scene, you kind of have to be a deadhead at a certain point there. Or if you're paying attention, I think. Like for me, um, that's not my music that I listen to, but early on, um, like what was it, 99, I think, we went on tour in the summer with Rat Dog.
Oh, cool.
And so we toured the whole summer with Bob Weir. And and that was one of my moments of like, oh, okay, let me check this out and see what all the hype, all the hoopla is about. And so I started studying it, like I like to know what people like and why they like it, and I get why the Dead is so cool to people. They tell great stories, and musically it's like it's a really simple music done a really complex, weird way. Like
That's a good way to put it.
I used to tell Phil Lesh, I said Grateful Dead music is kind of like bossa nova. You know, it's like it's all the same chords, but if you don't know the poem, you don't really know the song. And that's how bossa nova is. It's like there's an extra beat here or an extra bar here be, to fit the poem. and you might think it's just a straight 8-bar form, but it'll have 9 bars just to make the poem work. And the Grateful Dead's kind of the same way. The way they're mixed up is all about the poetry, and people that really know the Grateful Dead know all the poems. So that's what makes it such a great little um like a collective journey for everybody, is that they know the poems, they know the stories, and then to hear each interpretation of the stories is what they come for.
Absolutely. That's true. That's a great way to put it. The interpretation of the story, it's always a different interpretation, but the same story, the same core.
Yeah, yeah. And Phil was way into that. Like he really didn't want the story to sound the same every night. Like I'd come in and I'd have gone through and learned the tune, and then he'd go, "Oh man, I haven't done that in 40 years. That little piece in 40 years." He goes, "We never do that anymore." He goes, "That's pretty cool." Or I'd be playing like Terrapin with him, and I'd want to play the little ba 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 ba, and he'd look at me and go, "You don't really have to play that every time,
Yeah,
It's like for him, everything is a suggestion, and it really is. But for me, it was I didn't know the stories as well as everybody else. So I had to like grab things that would keep me in place, because you
sure.
can get lost in those stories if you don't know where you're going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right when you say that Phil was, always trying to make it a different interpretation and make it just a little different and embrace kind of the weird stuff, but also suggestions. I like that. That's a good thought about old Phil, who we miss dearly. I think it's been about a year
I
since we lost him.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did you get introduced to Phil?
You know what? I just at one point they called management and asked if I could do Coney Island with them. And that was several years ago. And I went out and did a couple of nights with him. And then, I do 2 or 3 or 4 shows a year with him ever since then. And
Yeah,
I was lucky enough for Pete Shapiro to insist. I was very busy the summer before he died. I was out with the Stones, and I was doing a lot of crazy stuff. And Phil said, Pete said, come to the Capitol Theater and do this weekend with them. And I said, you know what, I'm crossing back and forth across the country, and I don't think I can make it. And he that was to management, and he called me personally. He said, I think you should really try to make this one, and so I made it. And it turns out I did that, and then maybe a month later I went and did the recording with Phil at his studio in Marin.
yeah.
And because I saw how fragile he was, and when I went to the Capitol, and I really thanked Pete profusely for forcing me to do that, because otherwise I would have missed him. And I got to spend some really quality time with him there towards the end, so it was really nice.
Oh man, thank you for sharing that. I think we all we're all jealous of you because we could all use a little Uncle Phil time. So I'm so
I
glad,
know, I know, he was amazing. He was really an interesting person.
really and truly, and really cared about the music and came from that like classical jazz background to begin with, So the way that
Yeah.
they all kind of their minds came together to create these poems and these, kind of oracles that they stood by that everybody exalts. Like you said, Terrapin, everybody's waiting for that moment where we scream Terrapin, and you've been there for a
Oh,
lot of that. Isn't that beautiful?
yeah, that's one of the most beautiful moments I've ever had in my life, is the Capitol Theater playing Terrapin Station for the first time with him, and seeing the like the blossoming of the crowd, like it was like a flower opening, to watch them um um participate in that story, and I was just like, I was more entertained than they were at that point. It was like, oh,
What?
this is incredible. It's kind of like when just as a songwriter, I want to write a song that means that much to people. And that was one of those moments where I was like, wow, this is heavy stuff, man.
It really is. It really is, and that's such a powerful tune. And again, we've heard it thousands of times, but it's all about the interpretation on that specific night in that specific crowd, and coming
Yeah.
together, being part of it. Like you said, like the audience was just as much a part of it as the band, and that's a great feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm glad that we're getting Karl Denson to be the first person to play New Year's Eve at Garcia's. It's been open about since March, so almost yeah. You're the first. You're the first ever.
Nice. I love that.
It's gonna be awesome. It's such a cool room. The vibe is cool. I'm guessing you'll play a little bit of different stuff each night if people want to come out 2 nights
Yeah, we'll definitely play
to switch
different
it
stuff.
up.
Yeah.
I feel like that's part of the dead world too, right? You can't play the same show twice.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things you know, I have trouble with my band with with a bunch of young black kids is like convincing them, no, we really should be playing different sets every night. They're like, why? But it gets tight, but it's not about tight. It's about
Right.
storytelling, and getting people to enjoy the story fresh every night.
Very true. And I see their point because they're like, all right, we're getting to this point where we got so tight on this tune, but it's like, don't worry, we'll play it in 2 more days. We'll still keep
Yeah,
playing. Just
yeah, yeah,
back to back. I love that. I love that. Well, I love also that, like you said, the Dead wasn't something you grew up on. It wasn't something that you knew, but you kind of embraced it. Phil kind of showed you the way, the path, and so grateful you got to be with him, especially in Marin in some of his final days. That's huge.
yeah.
We love that. And yeah, big shout out to Donna Jean. Her career was amazing too, and she was a huge fan of Phil. So we've lost a couple of these great people from the Grateful Dead world, but people like you and people like all these other bands keep making it still a thing. We still get to
Gotta hear,
enjoy the music.
you gotta hear this. My
Yes.
my guitar player is obviously listening to this. We're live right now,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
And
sir.
and my guitar player in capitals just said, "Can't play the same damn show twice." Tell that to Alfred, my drummer.
Yeah, you better let Alfred hear this one.
That's awesome. What's up, Ricky?
What up,
Boom.
Ricky? Ricky, 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 how you doing? He's your guitar player, you said?
Yeah.
I love it, real time chiming in. You're like, oh, you're listening. Oh, thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that. Tell me about Ricky then, since he chimed in. How'd you get in touch with him, and what's your guys' relationship like?
Ricky is my I'm teaching him to be a guitar god. Like he comes from just playing gigs and being part of whatever kind of thing, and now it's like I'm sticking him out there in front and telling him play loud and fierce and
Yeah.
drive the whole band and don't worry about what I think or anybody else. And so it's a fun process with him. And then he's also the Scorsese of the social media. He's been doing
Okay.
he's been doing my social media for the last year or so, and he's doing a great job, and he's just got a good eye for it, and so that's been really fun. If anybody's been noticing how much better my social media has been in the last year and a half, it's because of Ricky. And so we're just hanging out, man, and trying to make music and trying to make life fun, and and study. We're all students really in my band for sure. And um that's the biggest part of it. It's all we're just all studying how to do it better every day.
That's a good thing. I think when you're consistently trying to learn and consistently trying to get better, even if you think you've gotten there, right? You become better, you make it more exciting for people to listen.
Yeah, yeah, I got a teacher last year. Shout outs to Mike Tucker right now. But yeah, there were things I didn't know that I was had been confused about for years, and I finally was like, you know what, I need a teacher, and I found this guy through a friend, and man, it changed my life. I'm like I understand things in a way deeper way than I ever did, and it's totally changing my playing. Like I feel like I've got a reason to practice now, more than before because I know where I want to go, kind of.
Mm,
And yeah, so it's life is just about learning and evolving, and you got to keep doing it.
you really do. And you think, like you said, like you think you may know it all, and then all of a sudden you get shocked. You're like, wait, this guy's teaching me things I didn't know I even needed to know, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I would come into my band and tell them like stuff that I'm learning, and they'd look at me like blank face, like, "How have you gotten this far without knowing that?"
That's funny. See, I think
Yeah,
that like blissful ignorance is like a good thing because there's still always more room to grow and find to be shocked and be surprised.
I've always been a little bit afraid of like being too clean, being too precise, like I like a little bit of caveman approach to things,
Yeah.
so now I'm in the process of I've spent my life being a caveman. Now I'm trying to become a full Homo sapien.
You're slowly creeping up into that full Homo sapien. You're doing a
Yes,
great job. And
exactly.
that humbles you too, because I think one of the biggest issues in sometimes with music is people having too much ego. And I think with not having an ego and just wanting to learn more, that makes you a humble person.
Yeah, and I also have never particularly liked players or artists that know exactly what they want. Like there's no questions. I always find them boring. Like it's so good that it's boring now.
Yeah, you
I like those ragged edges that just surprise you every once in a while. So I've always tried to figure out how to keep some of those on my playing and my writing.
absolutely. I think that does make it very the texture is there. It's not like you said, it gets too clean, it gets too there's no questions. There's nothing
I
to
mean,
kind of
that's kind of the whole thing with the Dead is they sound like crap sometimes, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Like I when I first got introduced to them back in this is like 93, 94, when the Greyboy Allstars first started, and I would hear them in a restaurant or a club or something, and it was the funniest thing because we understood what the jam scene was becoming. So I would hear them, and they would sound like a lot of other things that I would recognize, and then they would start singing, and half the time I'd be like, "Oh, who the hell is that singing?" And then somebody go, "That's the Dead," and it took me years to actually be able to relate to it. Like at first it just was like, "Oh, that's terrible," but but then I got it. Like it took me a minute to get it. And it's not about the clarity of it or the cleanness. It's about the spirit of it, and that's one of the things that, trying to honor that in some way in my music, which is way different than what they do, but still there's a spirit to it that I really like.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that for sure. And I think, sometimes when I've heard the Dead speak about, when they would play big stadiums, which you understand now, they would just totally flop. Like it was just too much pressure sometimes and it wouldn't sound good. They were running around each other. But like sometimes it's about figuring out how to get out of that bind and finding, that there's magic in there, even if one of the songs was kind of weaker or whatever. But by the end of it, you've like climbed out and learned together how to refocus and how to have some fun.
Yeah, yeah, and realizing that if you're really improvising, if you're really stretching and trying to make music, it's not always going to be perfect. Like that whole thing of it being tight just for the sake of it being tight is not something that you even need to focus on. Like it'll tighten up by just doing it and doing it with with your willpower and integrity. But the idea of it being tight just for the sake of being tight is not the point.
Yeah, and the more you focus on that, the less you'll probably be tight because you're too focused on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it can be tight in a not a good way because you're too focused on it.
Mm.
And from night to night, if you want people to come see you night to night, you might want to let it be looser so that it's actually more intriguing to the audience.
True.
And I think that's really like, you know, keys for the Dead because, I know tons of people go, yeah, I just saw Three Nights of the Dead. And I'll go, how was it? And they'll go, well, two nights were not that great, but the third night was so good, or the second night was amazing. So, you take your lumps and with the candy, at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, that's what life's about too, right? If we don't have darkness, we don't have light, and vice versa. So you gotta
Yeah.
have those kind of screw ups or nights you don't feel as tight or you don't feel as good because the next night or the next moment might be just so stellar, but it had to come out of that darkness.
Right. Or you play a show that you play your best show and there's 75 people there, and then you play 500 the next night and don't play as great, or play 1,000 and don't play as great. But that night where there were 75 people in a little club, you just tore it up. it,
Yeah.
it, it happens.
Everybody's talking about it. Nobody was there, but they,
Yeah,
those
yeah, but
75 were there.
yeah, yeah.
It's a beautiful feeling. You mentioned Greyboy Allstars, and that's an amazing project too. Tell our listeners just a little bit about who that band is and what that was when it started.
Well, the Greyboy Allstars is that was my first foray into this scene. Um, Back in '92, I met DJ Greyboy, and we started working together. And um, and then in end of '93, he put a band together. And that was right when I left Lenny Kravitz. I came home in October, and in December we did our first show in San Francisco, which was a record release party. But we are a boogaloo band, and that's kind of the tradition that we come out of, and we've been really loyal to that. Really, really, it's kind of what makes the band so cool. It's a very pure sound, and we really understand what it is. And that was a lot of hard work, of having everybody kind of being on the same page as far as what we wanted to be. Um, but it's so much fun, and the Greyboy Allstars have an official guitar god, playing with them. Mike Andrews, better known as Elgin Park. Um, he's just like a real guitar genius with that plays really in a unique way. Like it's just so funny the way he plays. Like, a lot of people don't get it,
Yeah.
but when you get it, you go, okay, that guy's really on some other shit. And that's just how it is. I remember coming out of a club in New York one night, at 2 in the morning. We played a show, and this older, like Puerto Rican guy was working in the club, or maybe security or something. And he goes to a couple of us. He's like, yeah, man, y'all sound good. He goes, y'all can play, man. He goes, that guitar player, I don't know about him.
He's a
And I
little
thought it was the perfect comment because Mike he's disarming in how he plays. But when you start to learn what we're doing, when you start to hear enough of Greyboy Allstars, you realize, oh, it's the guitar player, that. And Robert Walter is one of the greatest writers of our time right now. He's kind of like the Horace Silver of the jam band scene. He writes prolifically, and writes great songs. So it's that band is just fantastic, and really one of my favorite things to do, and we're hoping to do a lot more in the future.
I was gonna say it's gonna keep going, right? Because I really enjoy that you have both of these bands. They're totally different from each other, but they're so much fun.
Yeah, exactly. And we just like playing together, you know, and so that's kept us together. And now we realize it. Now we're like, okay, you know what? We really got something here. So let's just keep building on it. We're gonna start recording again in January. We've
Yeah.
got a bunch of recording dates set up, so we're gonna make a new record, and we got a bunch of things in the can. So it's all fun.
It's awesome. I mean, my brother was saying to me too, he's like, a lot of these samples that Greyboy did, like Ann Peebles or Ann Elf or Gene Ammons, he learned from you guys. He didn't know that music until he learned it from Greyboy.
Yeah, we took advantage of that early on. People thought we wrote Texas Twister by Melvin Sparks or a lot of those Boogaloo tunes. People thought, the Gene Ammons Jungle Strut. They thought we wrote that because we were the band that DJ Greyboy had been digging in the crates, finding all these old records. We thought he wanted to be in the band when he put the band together. He
Yeah.
just wanted us to play the records that he'd been spinning, really.
He's like, make these
That's
people famous again. Yeah.
he just wanted to hear that stuff played live, and it turned into our sound. But so many people thought that we wrote all those tunes, Celestial Blues by Gary Bartz and man, like these are like classics now, but at the time nobody knew them, so they thought they came from us.
I love that. I mean, I didn't know Star Child from, like Parliament. I didn't know any of that was I heard that first from Dr. Dre and like, some of that early stuff. I didn't even
Right.
know what really samples were, but it was kind of weaving its way in the 90s into our music and it was, now I have fun with it. I'm like, "Ooh, let me guess who this artist is," or somebody I've never heard of is in a song that's fun and popular that I like to dance to. It's like, "Oh, this is a really good way to do this."
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun to find things that you love and then kind of recreate them and bring them fresh to people.
Absolutely. Tell me about what Boogaloo is. Like
Um,
what is Boogaloo if somebody asks? Like what is a Boogaloo?
Boogaloo is like an easy way to think of Boogaloo is like Austin Powers.
Okay.
Like like when you hear that Austin Powers theme, boop, 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 doo, doo, boop, doo, doo,
Oh,
doo, doo, boop, doo, 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 doo,
yeah.
boop, doo, 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 doo. That's Boogaloo. And
Ah,
what it really means is like early on they swung the beat, ding 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 ding, and then Boogaloo straightened out the beat. So it went ding 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 ding, and that was like an Afro Cuban, Afro a Latin thing that happened, and apparently Dizzy Gillespie is the guy that gets credit for like kind of bringing that sound. Um, but then so Boogaloo ended up becoming the dance music. So you got like like late 50s, early 60s, Boogaloo kids are dancing, and then it became James Brown, you know.
okay. Yeah.
It became like Cold Sweat is a Boogaloo beat,
Okay.
and Papa's Got a Brand New Bag. All that stuff is Boogaloo based. So Boogaloo is jazz that became dance music that became funk, that became soul, that became hip hop.
Wow. That makes sense. Okay, that makes total sense because if I know the word Boogaloo, it's because of you. I've heard you talk about it,
Right.
but never quite knew what the definition of it was.
Yeah, West Coast Boogaloo is what the
That's
Greyboy Allstars are all about because when I met Greyboy in 92, when I first met him, he said the word Boogaloo to me, and I was like, you're the first person that I've met, in my life who understands what they're talking about right now, if
Yeah.
as far as Boogaloo goes. So that's what kind of made us team up. And then from there, he introduced it to the Greyboy Allstars, and separately, all of us were separate, and they were already playing James Brown and stuff. But the fact that he like linked them to that knowledge, and then I came in and immediately started writing for that. And like, I don't know if you know Tinnerman, but that was the first track that I wrote for the Greyboy Allstars, which is
Okay.
just a classic boogaloo tune.
Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, when you think about that and you think about like playing with people like Fred Weasley, right, from James Brown's band, like what was
Right.
that like to play with somebody like him?
It was, yeah, it's just, pinch me moments, like he's definitely a mentor. And and I grew up on it, like it was one of those things where when I finally got to meet him, I was in awe. And then to get to hang out with him for as long as I have, it's just been unbelievable.
It's wild. I bet it's like you said, pinch me moments. Those moments where you're like, okay, I didn't realize I'd know or be in this room with this person or make music with them.
I've got a crazy amount of pinch me moments. I can't really fathom how lucky I've been to just end up in these different places. I kind of feel like Forrest Gump or Zelig, you know,
Yeah.
like like you look back there and there's me standing off to the side going, "Hi, I'm here." So hopefully I get several more before I'm out of here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're listening to WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM, and we're talking to Karl Denson. I heard recently in an interview that you went to your first A-list party with the Stones, and you were kind of like that, like a fly on the wall, but you named off all these people that were there, Rob Lowe, and I can't even remember them all, but how was that? Like, how'd you keep your composure and just chill?
I didn't keep my composure. I was I was completely nuts, and I told those guys, I was like, "You guys, this is my first A-list party. Might never see this again. I am not going to be cool at all. I'm going to just flit around and take pictures and do what I got to do to make sure that this is a memorable moment." And and I got to hang out with LL Cool J on the couch, and I had dinner with Leonardo DiCaprio. It was freaking nuts. Like,
No
I was
way.
just like, what the hell is going on here? I got to talk to Leonardo DiCaprio for a half an hour or more about Aviator, which is one of my favorite movies. And it turned out it's his favorite movie that he ever did, because he wrote the screenplay, and he had a lot of trouble getting it sold. Like,
Okay.
nobody would pick it up.
Hmm.
And finally Scorsese, I think, did that movie, and so he's really proud of it. And for me, that was like one of his seminal movies for me, as far as like just going, this guy is it. you know I talked to him about This Boy's Life, that old movie with Robert De Niro.
Yes.
A great movie. And then I got to tell Adam Sandler a joke, and I got to make him chuckle. It was just incredible. Like, one of those nights. I
That's
got to butt
insane.
in on Matthew McConaughey and Penelope Cruz's conversation.
I mean, it sounds like you handled it as much as
Well, they were a little irritated, actually. I was
you're like, what'd you say? I'm
they,
listening.
they, they're like they're kind of like trying to have a conversation, and I'm flitting about, and they're kind of like they 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 dealt with me for a few seconds, but they were obviously like, "Dude, we're trying to have a conversation here. Go play over the quarter."
Yeah, you got a sax or something you can play? Go play it.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm part of the Rolling Stones. I'm cool too. I mean, come on. Now, were you
Um,
there solo or did you have a plus one? Did you have your girl with you or anything, or it was just
no,
you?
I was solo. I was actually just at home. Um, we were playing LA, the Stones were playing LA, and I usually miss all the parties because I don't pay attention.
Yeah.
And it just happened. I was home and I had something to do that got canceled. And so I checked my email and saw that they were having a party. And I thought I could go or not go because I had to drive to LA. And I thought, yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy I did.
That's amazing. Just sitting on a couch with LL Cool J sounds cool. Just sitting on a couch, it sounds so like mundane, like I'm sitting
Yes,
on a
just sitting
couch
there
with you.
talking to LL Cool J and Rob Lowe and um yeah, it was just
DiCaprio.
mind
I
blowing.
mean, yeah, to be
David
able to be like,
Spade
oh,
was walking around, like I didn't even get to say hi to everybody because there was just so many cool like stars rocking around.
oh my goodness. That's such a cool feeling. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got to be hard to like keep your composure sometimes. And you have a song, I'm your biggest fan. You must feel that sometimes because, people are fans of this stuff. It's you're a fan first, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely geek out on people just like everybody else. And, sometimes you try to stay cool and sometimes you just lose it.
Exactly, and that's sometimes you just got to go with it.
Right.
I mean, and that's how we were talking about playing with Fred Weasley. Like he was on that West Coast Boogaloo record, right? That was one of the first Greyboy
Yeah,
Allstars.
yeah, that was our first record. And yeah, because I was in his band at the time.
Oh,
So and of course, um, when you think about Boogaloo, you gotta talk about James Brown. And so
yeah,
Fred Wesley is, right there with the foundations of funk, basically.
I love that. That's so cool. I mean, for your first record to have him on there and be able to be like, I listened to you, and now we're playing with you.
Yeah, and then he played on my record, on the Tiny Universe record, The Bridge. He's
Okay.
in he's in the horn section. He plays a really nice solo on that song Freedom.
Oh, okay, cool. Maybe we'll play one of those after this. A
Yeah.
reminder to people, we put it on social media, but we are going to give away a pair of tickets to both nights. So we'll give you GA tickets to either the 30th or the 31st at Garcia's to see this wonderful human being. I'm talking to Karl Denson and his tiny universe.
Right.
One more little thing I want to touch on. You were a big proprietor of Tai Chi. And
Yeah.
meditation, you say music is meditation. Can you expand a little bit on when this kind of practice started into your life and how often you try to practice?
I do Tai Chi pretty much every day, and I have for the last um almost 50 years. So yeah, I learned it
Wow.
probably when I was, yeah, I must have been 20.
Okay.
And so I'm coming up on 50 years in another couple of years. And I've been doing it ever since. I learned it from a great teacher in Orange County, Duke Chang. And and I remember the first thing he ever told me. A good friend of mine, Doug Knight, God rest his soul, um, said, I'm getting ready to start learning Tai Chi. We were good friends, and he said you should come and check it out. And so I went to his teacher, George Su, and George started teaching us Tai Chi. And then we found this other studio with Duke Chang, and that's where I finished learning it. And there was one thing that Duke said the very first lesson. He said, "This is yours. Don't just learn it, keep it for your life." And that resonated with me. And so I've always done it. And I really feel like it's kept me healthy. Like I'll tell you a funny story. This is for Dave, my old keyboard player, who loves to say the word bunion because of me. And
Okay.
but in 2001, when I made the record Dance Lesson Number Two, and
Great record, by the way, everybody.
we were going back and forth to Japan a lot. And I remember there was a point where if I had to run through an airport, by the time I got to the plane, I would be hobbled by my freaking bunions and on my big toes. And I had kind of I was slacking on the Tai Chi at that time. And I just remember vividly landing in LAX, and we had to get to the plane, and a little Japanese lady met us at the plane, at the first plane, and then took us to the next plane, but we had to hustle. So she's running in front of me and I'm running behind her. And I consider myself in decent shape generally, and I am hobbled by the time I get to the plane. And
Mm.
so I went back to really doing Tai Chi religiously every day. And within 6 months, I had fixed my bunions.
Wait,
And
what?
and I've never had problems with them since. Like I know how to manage them now, but it's really just doing those exercises because it's such basic stuff. It's integral in like what you do for life if, as an animal, and if you do enough of that, it'll just keep you in shape. So, um, yeah, I'm big on the Tai Chi.
I love that. That's really cool. And so you just don't have pain in your bunions at all anymore?
No, no, they're totally
I know.
fine.
I'm like, let me see them as you look back. Yes, I just got to see Carl's feet. That's amazing. I didn't expect you to be barefoot. That was great. I know some people that struggle with that. So you said so Dave would talk about his favorite word was bunion because he
Oh, he loved saying bunion. He,
it's a
he
funny
would,
word.
it is a funny word, and he would find a way to put it into any freaking conversation. It was at a certain point, you're like, dude, come on,
Chill
these
out.
things.
That is hilarious. I love it though. I know a lot of people that struggle with that, so maybe I'll give him the advice of a little Tai Chi
Yeah,
might
I mean,
help.
it's really you can fix it with exercise, but you got to be religious about it, and you got to be patient and just got to keep it up. Like but it's normal stuff like walking on your toes, just basically, strengthening those joints and stretching them, and then they'll come back around to a certain extent.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when you're on the road, are you able to do that like in the bus or just in the hotel? Like you make it so you can do it wherever you can.
Yeah, Tai Chi's very hotel friendly. I mean,
That's
the Tai Chi, I need a little more room to do a full form, but Qigong, which is the attached um exercises, there's tons of those that are, you only need a few feet of space.
that makes sense. I think they've done a little of that qigong in some of my yoga classes. Is yoga a
Yes.
part of your regimen at all, or do you like it?
Not as much. I want to get into yoga. I still haven't delved into it far enough, but Tai Chi comes from yoga. So
I didn't know that.
they basically, the yoga crossed over the mountains to China and became Tai Chi.
Wow. Okay, that makes sense. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
look into Tai Chi. Let's trade off. I'll look into Tai Chi, you look into yoga, and then we'll see how it comes
All right, that
back.
sounds good. Sounds
I
good.
love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Carl, so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure and an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much. That was really awesome, and you're well informed, which is nice. You actually know what I do, so I feel like I could open up here. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. You're absolutely welcome. You're always welcome to come on the show and be a part of it. And you say art connects us to the universe, and that is why we're here. Maybe a few words on that, and we'll let you go because I could talk to you all night.
Um, well, I mean that kind of says it all. We
Yeah,
need to just be the God creatures that we are, which is creative, and and just let's just take care of each other better. I think that's really my final word. I'm trying to come to grips with where we are in the world and in the country right now, and it's gotten really weird, and I just want everybody to do a little bit more thinking about the innocents out there instead of just the people that have it and are not using it well. I think there's a lot of innocent people getting thrown under the bus right now, and we have plenty. So let's do a better job of helping each other out and being more kind and more patient and more compassionate.
100%. I think that's a really good advice from our friend here, Karl Denson. Thank you so much for coming on the air. We can't wait to see you 2 nights at Garcia's. We're going to boogaloo it up with you. Let us know how you want us to dance, and we'll boogie for you. We're ready for you.
All right. So good to be with you.
So
Take
good
care.
to be with you too. Have a great night. Bye, Carl.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye. WZRD Chicago 88.